Welcome back to the Adolescent Trauma Case Studies series. Today, we're exploring the case of Tyler Hadley, a 17-year-old from Florida whose story shocked the world. This series focuses on the psychological and developmental aspects of these cases. My goal is to examine the why behind these tragic events and not the graphic details of the acts themselves. Now, before we begin, I want to be clear about the purpose of this video. This is an educational case study focused on adolescent trauma, development, and human behavior. It is not meant to sensationalize violence, assign blame, or justify harm. Some details may be difficult to hear, and viewer discretion is advised. My goal is to understand how trauma, attachment, and development intersect, because understanding is one of the strongest tools we have for prevention. Tyler Hadley was 17 at the time of the events we're examining. He lived in a suburban neighborhood in Port St. Lucie, Florida. He was the only child of his parents and was homeschooled prior to entering high school. In this series, we explore his environment, early development, and behavioral patterns to better understand the psychological factors leading up to that tragic night. Tyler grew up in a suburban household with both parents. His father was a construction worker and his mother a homemaker. He was an only child, which may have influenced social dynamics and isolation within the household. The emotional climate was reportedly strict and controlling, though some sources describe the family as otherwise functional. Understanding the family environment helps us see the foundation of behavioral development and social learning. During his childhood, Tyler demonstrated high intelligence, a desire for independence, and early signs of impulsivity. He often spent long hours playing video games, which became both a source of entertainment and a way to seek control over his environment. Socially, he sought validation from peers and began experimenting with hosting small, unsupervised gatherings. These activities, combined with secrecy and difficulty managing emotions, reveal early patterns of risk-taking, autonomy-seeking, and the beginnings of behavioral dysregulation. A major shift occurred as Tyler transitioned from homeschooling to the public school environment. This shift introduced social pressures, exposure to peers, and the desire for social status. Reports suggest he increasingly sought control over the environment and resented restrictions from his parents, highlighting early internal conflict and secrecy. Peer influence played a crucial role in Tyler's escalating behavior. He sought approval and validation through planning parties, which required deception and secrecy from his parents. While peers were not directly involved in the crime, the need for social status, admiration, and reinforcement of autonomy-driven decisions contributed to his internal justification of risky actions. This intersection between internal desire for control and external peer validation is key to understanding the escalation toward the night of the tragedy. In the months leading up to the incident, Tyler demonstrated increasing secrecy, defiance, and attempts to control his environment. He hosted large, unsupervised parties, lied to his parents, and showed intense frustration when restricted. These behaviors, while not violent on their own, indicate escalating internal tension, impaired emotional regulation, and early warning signs that a crisis could occur without intervention. Tyler's attachment patterns were complex. As an only child, he had limited sibling interactions, and his peer connections were primarily focused on social status and approval rather than deep emotional support. This isolation, combined with his desire for independence and autonomy, contributed to internalized frustration and limited healthy coping strategies. On July 16, 2011, in the afternoon and early evening, Tyler Hadley carried out the plan he had formed days earlier. Using a claw hammer, he fatally attacked both of his parents, Mary Jo Hadley and Blake Hadley, inside their Port St. Lucie home. After the attacks, Tyler moved their bodies into the master bedroom, covered them with household items, and spent several hours cleaning up and concealing evidence. Later that night, he posted a party invitation on Facebook and hosted a gathering of about 60 friends. Most of the guests had no idea what had occurred earlier that day. During the party, he eventually told a close friend what he had done, and that friend later contacted authorities. Police arrived early the next morning and arrested Tyler. As a reminder, our focus here is not on graphic detail, but on understanding the psychological, developmental, and environmental context behind these actions, the factors that led a teenager from everyday life to this tragic decision. Following the events, Tyler Hadley was arrested and charged as an adult. He pled guilty and received a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The legal outcome illustrates the intersection of adolescent development, accountability, and society's response to severe acts by minors. From a psychological perspective, Tyler's case highlights patterns common in adolescent developmental crisis: early difficulty with emotional regulation, secrecy isolation, intense desire for autonomy, and susceptibility to peer reinforcement. These factors, combined with environmental stressors and internalized frustration, can create conditions for catastrophic decision making. As mental health professionals, analyzing these patterns help identify risk factors and points for intervention. As we close this case, let's take a moment to reflect on what Tyler Hadley's story teaches us. One of the key takeaways is the importance of identifying warning signs and risk factors in adolescence. From social isolation to unhealthy peer influence, and the ways in which environment, developmental stress, and access to lethal means can converge. This case also emphasizes the critical role of early intervention, mental health support, parental engagement, and community awareness can help prevent tragedies before they escalate. Reflecting on these events, we see that understanding the why behind actions is just as important as knowing the what. It allows us to learn, to analyze, and to advocate for youth who may be struggling. Thank you for following this case study. I'll see you for the next adolescent trauma case study, where we'll continue to explore the developmental psychological factors that can shape these tragic events.